You wait before posting the photo, before applying for the job, before starting the channel, before speaking honestly. Because somewhere in your mind, there's still a quiet sentence repeating itself. Not yet. Not smart enough yet. Not disciplined enough yet. Not healed enough yet. And the strange part is, even after improving yourself for years, the feeling doesn't fully leave. Visual. Person sitting alone in a dim room, phone glowing softly. You keep thinking confidence will arrive first, then action will follow. But what if your brain was trained to reverse that order? What if waiting to become good enough isn't laziness at all, but a nervous system trying to protect you from something deeper? Because this pattern usually isn't about ambition. It's about safety, and most people never notice the difference. You probably know this feeling quietly. You prepare constantly, but rarely feel ready. You consume videos, save advice, make plans in your head at night. But when the moment comes to actually move, your energy disappears. Visual. Notebook filled with unfinished plans. You tell yourself you need more time, more clarity, more certainty, and from the outside, it can even look responsible. But internally, something heavier is happening. Your self-worth has slowly become conditional. You don't feel valuable because you exist. You feel valuable when you perform correctly. Psychologists sometimes describe this as contingent self-worth. Your brain learns to attach safety, belonging, or love to achievement and emotional control. So now every decision feels loaded. If you fail, it doesn't just feel like a mistake. It feels like exposure, like proof. That's why small things become emotionally exhausting. Sending one message, sharing one idea, trying one new hobby. Because your brain is no longer evaluating the action itself. It's evaluating what the action might mean about you. And that changes everything. Visual, slow-moving hallway with flickering light. This is why perfectionism often hides fear instead of confidence. A confident mind can tolerate imperfection. A fearful mind tries to eliminate uncertainty completely. But uncertainty can never fully disappear. So the goalpost keeps moving. You improve yourself, then immediately raise the standard again. You finally become productive. Then decide you also need to become emotionally perfect. You heal one insecurity, then discover 3 more. And slowly, your life becomes a waiting room. Not because you lack potential, but because your nervous system keeps confusing readiness with worthiness. There's an important difference between those two things, and your brain may have never learned it. Most people think this pattern comes from low confidence, but often it comes from adaptation. At some point in your life, being good enough probably felt emotionally important. Maybe mistakes brought criticism. Maybe vulnerability felt embarrassing. Maybe love became tied to achievement, maturity, or being easy to handle. So your brain adapted intelligently. It learned, if I prepare enough, I can avoid shame. And that strategy probably helped you survive socially. Visual, child sitting quietly at dinner table. Behavioral psychology shows that the brain repeats behaviors that reduce emotional pain, not just physical danger, emotional danger too. So if overpreparing once protected you from rejection, your brain stores that behavior like a survival tool, even years later. This is why you can logically know you're capable while emotionally still feeling behind. Because logic and emotional conditioning are processed differently in the brain. The thinking part of you says, you're ready, but the protective part says, not safe yet. And protection usually wins, especially when identity is involved. Think of your brain like an airport security system. Its job is not to make you fulfilled. Its job is to prevent emotional threat. Visual, abstract brain animation with alarm systems. Every time you consider doing something visible, uncertain, or meaningful, your brain scans for possible danger, judgment, failure, embarrassment, rejection. And if your past taught you those experiences were emotionally costly, the alarm system becomes hypersensitive. Not broken, just overtrained. This creates something psychologists call avoidance reinforcement. Every time you delay the scary thing, your nervous system calms down temporarily, and your brain interprets that relief as success. So avoidance gets rewarded. That's why waiting feels strangely comforting, even while it slowly hurts your life. The brain says, "See, we avoided risk. Good job." But there's another hidden cost. The longer you wait to act, the more emotionally important the action becomes. Now it's not just a YouTube channel. It's your identity. Not just one conversation, your entire self-worth. And the pressure grows heavier with time. Like holding a glass carefully for so long that your hand eventually starts shaking. The problem was never the glass itself. It was the constant tension. So how do you break this pattern without forcing fake confidence? Not by convincing yourself you're perfect, but by teaching your nervous system that imperfection is survivable. That's the real shift. Not becoming fearless, becoming safe enough to move anyway. The first principle is this: lower the emotional stakes. Your brain freezes when actions become identity tests, so stop treating every decision like a final judgment of your worth. Visual, person casually typing on laptop near window, instead of, "This project must prove I'm talented." Try. This is one experiment. Why this works psychologically. The brain handles experimentation differently than evaluation. Experiments feel temporary. Identity judgments feel permanent. One activates curiosity. The other activates threat detection. For example, posting one imperfect video becomes easier when your brain stops labeling it as evidence about your value. The second principle: let action create confidence, not the other way around. This is deeply supported in behavioral psychology. Confidence is usually a result of exposure, not a prerequisite for it. Your brain trusts experiences more than thoughts. Visual, person walking slowly through empty streets at sunrise. If you wait to feel ready before acting, you may wait forever. But when you repeatedly survive small, uncomfortable actions, your nervous system updates its predictions. You slowly teach the brain, "I can handle this." For example, speaking honestly. Once in a conversation may create more genuine confidence than months of mentally rehearsing it. Third principle: separate improvement from identity. You can grow without treating yourself like a problem to fix. This matters because chronic self-criticism keeps the brain in a mild threat state, and threatened brains become rigid, perfectionistic, and avoidant. Visual, mirror reflection slowly fading into soft light. Neuroscience shows that self-judgment increases stress responses, especially in areas connected to emotional regulation. But self-compassion reduces defensiveness, which increases learning flexibility, not softness. Flexibility. For example, instead of saying, "I'm failing again," try, "I'm learning a skill my nervous system finds difficult." That tiny shift changes how your brain processes the experience. Fourth principle: make the goal smaller than your fear. People often try to overpower avoidance with intensity, but the nervous system changes through manageable exposure. Small actions repeated safely. Visual notebook with one sentence written. One email. One paragraph. One honest sentence. Because consistency teaches safety better than pressure does. The brain rewires through repetition, not dramatic breakthroughs. This is why tiny actions matter more than emotionally intense promises. And finally, stop chasing the feeling of enough. Because that feeling is not a finish line. It's a nervous system state. And nervous systems calm through evidence, not perfection. Visual. Waves moving slowly at night. You do not suddenly wake up one morning feeling fully worthy. You build that feeling gradually by surviving moments you once avoided. That's how safety grows. Quietly. Repeatedly. So maybe the real problem was never that you lacked potential. Maybe you were carrying an invisible equation your whole life. Worth equals flawless performance. And every time you couldn't solve it perfectly, you postponed your life a little longer. But human beings were never designed to become worthy first and alive later. Visual, empty room with sunlight slowly entering. The people who seem naturally confident are not always less afraid. Often, they simply stopped turning every mistake into an identity verdict. They learned to move while unfinished, to exist before feeling fully approved. And maybe that's the deeper shift waiting underneath all of this. Not becoming extraordinary, not becoming fearless, just no longer treating your humanity like something that must be earned. Visual, person walking alone towards soft morning light. Because your life can quietly disappear inside preparation, inside self-improvement, inside waiting. And one day you realize you spent years trying to become acceptable to yourself before allowing yourself to fully live. But maybe you were never supposed to arrive as a finished person. Maybe life was always meant to be lived while incomplete. And maybe the moment you stop asking, "Am I finally good enough?" is the moment your real life slowly begins.